Hello, the ones who are going to watch this recording. I will start in this moment because this is the time of the meeting, and there are some other meetings that are coming with this credential, so I'm gonna start. Um, Today the idea is showing the following agenda for you guys to see. We're going to start. It's time to talk. So I'm sharing the screen in this moment. And I have today a reading activity for us to improve the reading comprehension capacity, but also to improve our communication in terms of uh, critical thinking, because we have to give reasons about what we think. But first, we need to have a contextualization over a topic. What I have done in different classes is making you familiar with videos, with audios, and music. But today the idea is reading. So I'm gonna start. For doing the reading comprehension, well, we have a specific agenda, but I want to tell you about it later. Those are the rules for the participation in case someone gets sick. Well, those are the rules. You already know them. This is the agenda for today's meeting. First, we're going to check the students' previous knowledge. Then we're going to do a reading comprehension exercise. And then we're going to do a speaking production based on the reading proposed for the meeting. We're going to do a speaking activity as soon as we have people in the meeting. Otherwise, the idea is that you guys are going to make it alone, right? So you practice by supporting your ideas based on the speaking proposal that I have for today. Well, it's time to talk. We're going to start. In this first part, the idea is making a socialization of these expressions. But what I wanted to do was a brainstorming activity in which you guys had to come up with ideas on the meanings of the different expressions that we have in here. And then doing a matching activity with the ones that we have in here. Those are the definitions, or let's say meanings. And in here we have the expressions that will appear in context in the reading activity. Well, as I don't have people online, I'm gonna make this presentation. A soap opera is a TV program. It's a common TV program, but it's a soap opera. Well, a communist country. What is a communist country? A communist country is the country that means that everybody supposedly gets the same resources are distributed more evenly. It means equally. So when we are in a communist country, it means that everybody supposedly gets the same. That is a communist country. A capitalist country is the opposite. Is the one that means that some people are rich and some people are poor. Resources are distributed unevenly. It means not equally. So they are the opposite. A capitalist country is in the one in which we find rich and poor people. And communist country, it means that we find the same average of people and people are supposedly get the same, right? Takeover, the meaning of takeover is to conquer, to have a domination, To be well off is a very good expression. Is be, verb be, well off. Be, I am well off. He was well off. That is it, So you have to use the verb be conjugated in this case with this expression. So to be well off is to be separated from the rest. For example, let's say that we have a group of yellow shirts, and there comes or appears like a one that is red. So the red one is apart. It's going to be whaled off because it's different, right? That's it, to be separated from the rest. Sorry for the easy and basic example, yeah? So basically, when you are separated from the rest, you are whaled off, okay? And finally, a famine is a very good expression that will appear in the reading is a long period of food scarcity. It means a period in which there is no food to eat. That is a famine. Okay. So this is it, guys. So we're gonna start. Remember, South Opera is a TV program, communist country. It's a country in which everybody is supposed to get the same, and a capitalist country is a country in which there are racial poor people and well, take over, the meaning is conquer, and be well off is be separated from the rest, and famine is a long period of food scarcity. Okay, so based on that, we're gonna start doing a reading comprehension exercise, right? So we're gonna see if we have comprehension. Okay. And here, the idea is having the reading comprehension based on the previous activity that we did. Is matching or basically using the new words that we learned in context. So in this case, this is the title, and non-fiction reading test, A Tale of Two Countries. Well, that's like the title, right? Those are the instructions. Read the following passage and answer the questions that follow. Refer to the test to check your, well, check if your answers are appropriate. So we're gonna start. Some call it, well, we're gonna start the reading. Some call it the Kermit Kingdom. It is a place where the outside world has been walled off, separated. American pop music is illegal in here, and you can get executed for watching soap operas or TV programs. This is not only a make-believe world in a science fiction novel, no. It's a 46,000 square mile nation hanging off east coast of China. It is one of the poorest nations in the world, and it's armed with nuclear weapons. There are guns or army power of weapons that are nuclear. The name is North Korea. So we have in this description, we have all the description of North Korea. North Korea is a hermit kingdom. North Korea is a place where the outside world has been walled off. North Korea is a place where American pop music is illegal. In North Korea, you can get executed for watching soap operas. In North Korea, this is not a make-believe world in a science fiction novel. No, North Korea is a 46,000 square mile nation hanging off the east coast of China, and is a poor nation and has nuclear weapons. This is North Korea. North Korea, okay? Now we're going to continue reading. Immediately to the south lies a nation with one of the world's richest economies. Well, 1/3 of all phones and TVs are made in here. And the people of this nation are among the world's most educated ones. Unemployment is low, job security is high, and workers in this nation enjoy the highest salaries in Asia. It is South Korea. The people of this nation share origins with their northern neighbor, North Korea, but they have since grown far apart. So, South Korea, we have this description. South Korea is in the south, is one of the world's richest economies, South Korea in this moment. About 1/3 of all the phones and TVs in the world are made in South Korea. People of this country are among the world's most educated ones, so they are very educated. There is no unemployment, or there are low rates of unemployment. Job security is high, and workers in this nation enjoy the highest salaries in Asia. So it's a very good country. It's the opposite, I think. North Korea is the opposite of South Korea, okay? Let's continue. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, known to Westerners as North Korea. So this is North Korea. was founded in 1845 after the Second World War. Their neighbor at the end of the Korean Peninsula, South Korea, or the Republic of Korea, was established at the same time. These two nations have an unusual history, but for one thing, they have technically been at war since 1950. So basically, they were founded, North Korea was founded in 1945, and after the Second World War, and it happened exactly the same to South Korea, yeah, or Republic of Korea. They have an unusual history. Well, we know that they have an unusual history, and they have been technically at war since 1950. So they have been fighting together since 1950. So it is unusual the history because they were founded in 1945 together, North Korea and South Korea. But they have been at work since 1950, come on, 6 years after their foundation. So let's see what happened. Though they were born at the same time, these two countries had different parents. The United States supported South Korea in its infancy, and China and the Soviet Union supported North Korea. The US and the Soviet Union may have ended the Second World War as allies, but they had different ways of organizing their society. So basically, we can say here that they were born at the same time, so they were founded in 1845. But they had different parents, supporters. The United States supported South Korea, but China and the Soviet Union supported North Korea. So those are the parents. North Korea's parents are China and the Soviet Union. And let's say that the supporters of South Korea are the United States. That's it. Well, that's it. Very easy. The US is a capitalist country, so we have a description of what a capitalist country is. The United States is a capitalist country. That means that some people are rich and some other are poor. They don't have the same. Resources are distributed unevenly. Let's say that they are not distributed equally. Business are owned by private entities. So this is the United States. The United States is a capitalist country, right? And well, they have rich people, poor people. Their resources are distributed unevenly, not equally, and business are owned by private entities. The Soviet Union claimed to have a communist system. It's different, So now we have the description of a capitalist country, which is the United States. But the Soviet Union had a communist system. That means that everybody supposedly gets the same. Resources are distributed more evenly, and business are owned in common by government. These two superpower nations rise North and South Korea in their own images. So what happens? That basically they have let's say that they look alike in terms of rules and everything. The communist system of the Soviet Union and China are similar to the ones that we find in North Korea. But the capitalist system that works in the United States is similar to the one that we see in South Korea. So that's slight difference. North Korea is communist and South Korea is capitalist. Well, we can continue here. The two Koreas went, well, this is the story, okay? This is the history. Yeah, well, let's say story, but history. What I mean story is like how it's supposed to happen. And history is because it was like an event in the world. The two Koreas went into war in 1950. The North attacked and took over much of South Korea, conquered But the United States jumped in and pushed the North Koreans back to the Chinese border. Then China got involved and pushed the Americans and South Koreans back. The nations agreed to a ceasefire. Millions of people were dead and living returned to the original boundaries. The war never officially ended, though combat has ceased for the most part. Well, what happened? That they started the war in 1950. Remember that the foundation of both Koreas was in 1945, but they started the war in 1950. What happens first? Well, the North attacked and took over much of South Korea first. That happened. So let's say that the North was winning. But the United States came, up here and jumped in and pushed the North Koreans back to the Chinese border. So they were in war with the support of the United States. But then China got involved and pushed the Americans and South Koreans back. So when China got involved, Chinese government supported North Korea and pushed the Americans back to the South Korean border. The nations agreed to a ceasefire, so they stopped the fire. Millions of people were dead and the living returned to the original boundaries. So it means that they had the same limitations. So nobody won. Yeah, there was no winner. The war never officially ended, so it means that they are still in war, though combat has ceased for the most part. So they stopped the war, but the combat continues. At some point, it's going to continue. That's it, that's the story. But well, after the war, South Korea was one of the poorest nations in the world. So when the war finished, the South Korea was very poor. In the 1960, the average citizen made 79 bucks a year, $79 a year. But the country did not have a lot of natural resources to sell, but they did have many hardworking people. So what happened? They didn't have natural resources to sell, yeah, like fruits, vegetables, different things, but they had different hardworking people. I think this is the key for richness in South Korea. People working really hard. During the 60s, 1960s, the country began manufacturing labor-intensive products. Selling these products to people in other nations made South Korea very rich. So what happens? That they started the manufacturing labor intensive products, and basically this made them rich. They started like dealing with other countries, and therefore they became rich. In this moment now, they have one of the largest and most thriving economies in the world. As of 2012, the average South Korean citizen makes around $32,020 dollars a year. So look at the comparison. They are very rich now because of the business, because of manufacturing and well, selling the products. And the comparison is that in 1960, they made the average citizen made 79 bucks a year, dollars a year. But now in this moment, they make 32,020 dollars a year. So it's a lot of cash, you see. It's like that's the description of South Korea and the way they became rich. The economy of North Korea is dramatically different. It's pretty different. Why? Because since its birth in 1940s, North Korea has been one of the most secluded nations or countries in the world. What does it mean? That they don't live with they don't deal with any others. They have been secluded is because they don't make business or they don't trade with other nations, right? So they promote the idea of self-reliance, and they call it couche. When they promote the idea of self-reliance, and couche means that they can survive with the resources that they have in their own country. no matter what. And in that way, they have a specific privacy for themselves and they don't deal with any other nation in the world. Okay. However, under this idea, they do little to not trading with other nations. Up until 1980s, they received large cash infusions from China and the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union fell apart in the 80s and became separate capitalist countries, of which Russia is largest. Without the Soviet Union's contributions, North Korea entered a long period of famine that lasted through the 90s. Let's see this part. In the 80s, until the 80s, they received a lot of cash from China and the Soviet Union until the 80s. However, guys, what happened is that the Soviet Union fell apart in the 80s and they became separate capitalist country. So they separated from different countries, which Russia is largest. In this case, they stopped receiving the contributions from the Soviet Union and China. And without the Soviet Union contributions, North Korea entered a long period of famine. I told you before at the beginning of this activity that a famine is like basically a long period of scarcity of food in which there is no food to eat. So let's say that without the contributions of South, of the Soviet Union and North Korea, they didn't have food to eat. And it happened until the 90s. So it was like 10 years, you see, from the 80s till the 90s. Food was hard to come by, and some estimate that millions of people starved to death. It means that there is no record of the people who died because of this long period of famine, but it is estimated that millions of people starved to death. Means that they died because of hunger, right? Still, the country persisted when much of the world thought that it would fall apart. What happened? They persisted, they continued, they lived, North Koreans, and they survived. Not only they did survive, but they managed to build a nuclear arsenal during this time. So they now have uh, nuclear weapons in their country. They don't depend on others, but they survive. Yeah, well, the sacrifice was the famine, right? That people didn't have food to eat and maybe starving to death. Let's continue. North Korea and South Korea share a border. Since they are located in state of perpetual war, it is not a regular border with a simple checkpoint. No, the border they share is known as a demilitarized zone. A demilitarized zone is supposed to be free from military installations. Yet, the Korean demilitarized zone is the most heavily militarized border in the world. Both nations have their biggest guns lined up on the divide and pointed at the other side. It is literally the opposite of what the phrase demilitarized zone implies. Well, basically, they share a border and they continue to work perpetually, right? It is not a regular border because the border they share is supposed to be a demilitarized zone, but it's the opposite because the demilitarized zone is the most heavily militarized border in the world. So they both have their biggest guns lines up on the divide and pointed at the other side. So they are ready to fight together. Well, it's the opposite of what for real means demilitarized zone. And so this is the end. Someday Korea may be unified again. South Korea and North together again. It seems unlikely, impossible now. But stranger things have happened. We don't know. Yet, even if they did unify, how could these very different societies acclimate one to another? It's difficult, because they have grown in different directions. One country is among the wealthiest and other is amongst the poorest. So one country is rich and the other is poor. The average North Korean male is estimated to be 5 inches shorter than the South Korean. So it means that South Korean boys are taller than North Koreans. Some suspect because of malnutrition. Okay, so depending on the good nutrition, people rise or let's say grow tall and with a good body. That's what the test says. So basically, with such big differences, will they ever be able to see eye to eye? So I mean, the document says that it is not necessarily possible to live together again, to reunify the Koreas, basically because they are totally different. One is wealthy, the other is poor. South Koreans are taller than the North Koreans, you see? So those are differences that basically we have to take into account if they are gonna be reunified again. Or well, basically the Koreas have to take them into account because they are totally different. Well, so I have in here a workshop that I would like you to well, to do it by yourself. Yeah. And I have some questions that I want to leave in here. Well, the idea was making the discussion in here, but since nobody got online, I'm gonna deliver these questions for you guys. And if you want to socialize the answers with me, I don't know, just let me know. Or we can agree on a meeting together to speak a little bit because that's the idea of this meeting, talking and talking and talking. So what made the Korean War particularly tragic? That is a good question. What made it tragic? I don't know, maybe think about supporting your ideas. What could have made it tragic? For me, it could be the idea of having a war in the border. I don't know, after 5 years of their foundation, what could have happened? Because many people died because of, I don't know, just interests of different governments. But maybe, I don't know, for example, in the 80s, what made it tragic was that basically North Koreans stopped receiving cash infusions from the Soviet Union and China, and the famine period, those 10 years, I think that that is something tragic because people who starved, let's say, who died because of malnutrition is something that is very sad. But let me know. I don't know if you want to share your opinions, guys. That would be something nice. What is one thing that readers can learn from these tests? I think that people can learn a lot of things. But would you like to say, guys? What do you think? I would like to know your views. For me, well, just for you to expand your ideas over what I'm going to say, could be fine if you want to do it. Maybe people can learn that the word is not that useful for anybody. And maybe we can learn that having different cultures reunified again, maybe if we have like different cultures that have grown apart and then we want to reunify these cultures, it's going to be difficult because people have different customs, and getting used to other people, other culture will be really difficult. It's revealing that, but it has this generation. Maybe one thing that we can learn is the resilient way in which North Koreans survived that period of famine because they basically survived 10 years of food scarcity and they even created nuclear weapons. So they did survive. Or other thing could be with South Korea that they were really poor, but because of their hard work, they became very rich. Yeah, we can learn that if we want to make money, it is important to have deals with other countries. Yeah, I think that those are points that we can discuss. Let me know if you agree, and let me know the reasons why you agree with these positions or disagree. In what ways have the two Koreas grown apart? Well, this is the description, and this is something that implies reading comprehension. So my invitation is for you guys to do the reading comprehension activity and basically to share your opinions with me if you want to do it. If you want to have a conversation, that will be really nice. I was expecting the participation of people in here, but well, I understand that sometimes it is difficult to get online. So this is the activity that I had for you guys. Remember, it was like a reading activity. Verifying vocabulary is the idea. First, before reading something, verify, scan very quickly vocabulary that can be new for you. Then check it in context through the reading. And then it's important, guys, to have basically a discussion over the topic. So those are excuses for speaking. The idea of today's meeting was talking about this aspect, which is for me a very interesting topic and would have awakened many opinions from you. So with no more to say, guys, I have to say that this is the end of the meeting. Well, we are ending the course. I'm providing feedback over the activities that you have done so far. And well, um, just let me know if you have questions via mail or in the different channels that we have for communication. So take care. I hope you're doing well and see you in another opportunity. Goodbye. Take care.